I, 27M, don't want to hang out with my trans friend, 25F, anymore. What do I do? This is a throwaway because my friend is also a Redditor. A little backstory. I moved to a new country a little over a year ago. This was when I met my friend, Kara. We became pretty good friends very quickly and I appreciated the fact she was a friend in a new place where I knew no one. A year on from meeting her we've only gotten closer. Kara is a trans woman who had begun the process of transitioning almost a year before I met her, but she was still very new to the lifestyle. Her words not mine, when I met her. Because of this a lot of the things we spoke about initially in our friendship were very centered around her transition and first steps into openly queer life. She admitted there weren't a lot of other people she could speak about this with and she enjoyed finally having someone hear her out, while I genuinely enjoyed learning about Kara's POV and experience as a trans woman. I also encouraged her to share other things with me such as her tastes in music, art and generally what she likes to do for fun, all of which are very queer. We often go to a lot of events together. We hung out at our city's Pride Festival and see each other a couple of times a month for drinks or general hanging out. I wanted to be someone she could celebrate herself and identity with and I think I accomplished that. The problem is I think that identity dominates our friendship now. When we hang out, Kara will insist on listening to her kind of music, lots of indie rock, queer artists and sapphic bands. A lot of which I don't really vibe with, but I never say no and don't complain when she does. However, whenever I play my type of music, dad rock, rap, Afro soul, R&B, she may listen to one or two songs before changing it to her music again claiming she wants to show me a new artist, song. I let her vent to me about her frustrations with work and her struggles in her romantic life. I even sat with her and let her cry on my shoulder when she broke up with her most recent partner, spending 2 hours consoling her. However, when I try and speak to her about my frustrations she seems to get this glassy look in her eyes and she'll murmur a few affirmations before changing the topic to her experiences, because it reminds her of something she went through. These are just a few of the many one-sided experiences I've had with Kara. I know she's a good person and I know it's unfair but I've started to resent her and her queerness. As someone who's recently discovered and accepted my own pansexuality, I understand how important someone's identity is to them, and I would never want to be someone who makes others shrink themselves to make myself feel seen or heard. But I've caught myself thinking things like, enough with the trans talk, or another lesbian indie band, recently. I really hate that I feel this way. I don't want to hate who my friend is, or despise the things she likes, believes in and relates to. How can I tell her this without her thinking I'm a giant transphobe and shunning her identity? How can I fix this? P.S. While I appreciate all views and comments, I'd especially love the trans and queer people in this sub to weigh in as well. You don't want to hang out with her because it's very one-sided. Her being trans actually has nothing to do with it. It's her personality. I don't hang out with people I don't enjoy spending time with regardless of their gender, preferences, color, political stance, insert practically anything here. This is normal and adult. You aren't vibing anymore. The friendship isn't floundering because of her being trans. It's because she has cast you as her emotional support and doesn't realize she has to give back as well. Next time she wants to hang out, tell her you've been having a rough time and see how she reacts. If she's a real friend, she will focus on you by asking questions about how you're doing and what she can do to help. If she flips things back to her, then that's the basis of your relationship. She can still be a fun person to go do things with, but start limiting your time to save yourself from resentment and burnout. It can be very draining to have one-sided friendships. I had one myself. Every conversation was about them. I no longer initiate conversation or share news with them and they never ask. I'd start slowly distancing yourself from them so it becomes a more casual relationship. And invite them to things you like to do, not just what they like to do. Friendship is a two-way street, and yours doesn't sound like an equal path. Their being trans has nothing to do with it. It doesn't really seem to be that you dislike these interests of hers, but rather that she doesn't have the same level of interest in your likes. Perhaps just frame it more as, I feel that I know your tastes but haven't had a chance to share more about what I'm into with you conversation. Be upfront that you support her interests, but that yours differ, and you want to make a little more room for your own tastes when you two are hanging out. It sounds like it has nothing to do with her being trans. The friendship is just very one-sided, which is very common. I'd suggest talking to her about it first. The Venn diagram of narcissism and trans women is basically just a circle. I am 20, found out my 22 girlfriend was trans. How do I communicate to her about this? Hey everyone, first time posting here. Me and my girlfriend have been together about 2 months now. She's honestly my best friend. When we first met, I had just gotten out of a really tough relationship that felt like hell on earth. My ex was a pathological liar, and I started questioning everything about her, even her identity. She would guilt trip me into doing things and didn't like me hanging out with anyone without her, not even my family. It eventually got physical, which was really scary because she was so much bigger than me. That experience made me afraid of girls in general, especially those who could overpower me physically. After we broke up, I isolated myself for about 2 years, just going to class and my part-time job. Then my mom gently pushed me to hang out with my cousins and their friends. That's when I met my current girlfriend. I was instantly attracted to her but also intimidated because she's about the same height as my ex. She noticed me looking at her and approached me outside my cousin's apartment. We exchanged numbers, started texting, and eventually began hanging out just the two of us. I opened up to her about everything, and 2 months ago, we officially started dating. We've had some physical contact, but nothing beyond kissing and cuddling. Yesterday, we were supposed to watch a show with my cousins and friends. I got there early and overheard 2 of my cousin's friends talking in the hallway. They were wondering when I'd find out something. When I asked them about it, they looked guilty but eventually told me the truth after a bit of convincing. I asked them to please just not say anything and made up some excuse to my friends and her about me not showing up that day. I'm completely okay with her being trans, but I feel hurt that she didn't tell me herself. It seems like our friends knew, too, which makes me wonder what else I might not know. I feel scared and unsure about how to approach this situation. First, you need to verify this is even true. For all you know, those girls were spreading lies. And the only way to do that is to talk to your girlfriend and ask. Yes, it will be awkward. But either way, you have to let her know. If it's not a big deal to you, then don't make it a big deal. However, relationships only work with open communication and you must have a conversation about this. This is a huge elephant in the room that needs addressed, but again, if it's not a big deal, don't make it. Simply sit down and say, hey, I overheard these things and I want to preface this conversation by saying it in no way changes how I view you or us. Based on that conversation, you can then decide to continue with the relationship or not. It is a bit of a red flag that your girlfriend didn't disclose something as important as this. However, you are both very young, haven't been dating for very long, and she probably doesn't have a lot of dating experience as a trans person or know when exactly would be the right time to break it to a new partner. If you are okay with it, just let her know that it doesn't bother you, but that you need honesty and communication in order to make a relationship work. As a trans person, I'm always upfront about who I am in the beginning, but I do empathize with her that she may have been cautious of telling you immediately since it's a crapshoot of one being accepting of it or not. Just talk to her about it. Mention that you overheard your cousin's friends talking about something and it came up. There's a million reasons why she might have hidden this, and this isn't the place to debate whether she did the right thing. The answer is just communication. Woman shrugging, light skin tone. I have no idea what it's like to be trans or date a trans person. But I do know what it's like having a chronic illness that's invisible, and wondering when the right time is to disclose it. Is that first date material? Would that scare her off? Do I wait till it's an issue to say anything? If I did, would that be dishonest to rope her in before telling her the hard stuff? Been there, so I can somewhat sympathize with your girlfriend to a degree. It's a double-edged sword. The others knowing and spilling the beans is another layer I can't really speak to. My wife, 35F, wants another baby and I, 36M, do not. How do we navigate past this? Hi Reddit, I'm hoping for some advice or insight. We're in a really tough position. In the interest of absolute openness and fairness, you should know that before my wife and I got married, we always talked about having more than one child. She was always super clear that she didn't want an only child. Our little boy was born nearly 4 years ago. He was born very premature and we spent quite a while in the intensive care unit with him. I cope with that whole process by focusing on her and him, and not really on dealing with how I was feeling about things. I found the first year to 18 months of his life incredibly hard. I cope with the stress of the situation by trying to keep on top of absolutely everything, and make sure that I was doing everything I could for my wife and baby. I was constantly terrified he was going to die, and suffered from nightmares and intrusive thoughts about his death. I felt cross and angry all the time. After speaking to my GP about this, I sought support from mental health services and was diagnosed with PTSD. I underwent high-intensity cognitive behavioral therapy which, fortunately, has seemed to work. The nightmares, anxiety, and anger seem to have stopped. I still find being a father hard though, and I feel like I am either constantly working or I am off and looking after my son, and I never have any time to wind down. Over the last year and a half my wife has been desperate to have another baby. I know that's what she wants. I know that's what she has always wanted. However, I really don't want another child. I love my wife and my little boy, and I just want to devote my time and energy to them. I don't want to go through the process of having a young baby again, and I feel like I don't have enough time or energy to be a good dad to another child. My wife is not coping well with this at all. She is incredibly sad and angry. She tells me that I am making this decision from a place of trauma, and that everything will just be fine, and that she resents me for taking the opportunity to have another baby away from her. She thinks if we have another child it will be hard for a few years, and that I might struggle with the first bit, but if we don't have another baby she'll be sad forever. She says I just need to get more counseling and work on my issues, and then it would all be fine. I don't know what to do. I truly love my wife and I don't want to be the one who is making her sad. But equally I feel like it's okay for me to have changed my mind, regardless as to whether that is a trauma-based decision or not. Is there a way past this for us? Children can't be negotiated on. One of you will end up resentful. Maybe giving marriage counseling a try if you haven't, can help her understand more of your point of view. I can see why you'd change your mind. Well wishes. I think marriage counseling is your best bet. It's okay for you to have changed your mind based on circumstances. You also understand why she's resentful about it. Neither one of you could have known ahead of time how it would work out. Good luck to you. Damn, this is way above Reddit's pay grade. Y'all need a therapist, probably one who specializes in PTSD, not to fix you, but so they understand your perspective. You need couples counseling, not Reddit. She wants a kid, and it's so understandable. Especially since his condition not genetic and should not repeat itself. You need both somehow resolve it or it will lead to divorce. Yes, you can change your mind, but you also change on a foundation of your marriage. You did not marry on, I want to be with you childless or not. You guys should go to couples counseling. I had my daughter at 27 weeks, and she spent almost 5 months in the NICU, and it was a horrible pregnancy that traumatized me and I decided I would never have another. So I totally get how you feel. The thoughts of my daughter dying and visiting her in the NICU every time an alarm went off I panicked. You and your wife definitely should seek a good therapist and see what happens. Wishing you both the best. Couples counseling yes, but unfortunately the answer is if one person says no, no more babies. Takes two to tango as they say. Maybe individual therapy for your wife to cope or leave. How do I, 27 female, gently tell my husband, 27 male, who has gained weight that he is well smooshin' me? Listen, I have to be honest. This thought has genuinely been eating me alive because my husband and I are BFFs and have been since we got together when we were 18. It's almost been a decade, and life happens after a kid or two and you get older. My husband has gotten bigger, this is just a fact. A fact that does not upset me. I love him, I still find him attractive and always will. The thing is, I am very petite. I've always had a crazy metabolism, and even after my pregnancies I have stayed pretty much the same as when we met. I think this gives my husband some insecurity issues, and that's why I'm making this post. During our couple time my husband is, to put it as best I can, crushing me under him from his weight gain. People in his life have made it a point to mention his size difference that's appeared in the past 2-ish years. In fact, his own mother, who isn't quite so thin herself, mind you, teases him relentlessly while praising me for my body. He's had coworkers make comments about how I'm more attractive than him, and they say very fat-phobic things to him in a joking way that I know hurts his feelings. I cannot stress this enough. If I don't tell him delicately that our intimate life is being impacted by his new body size, it will devastate him. I have no idea how to bring this up, and I'm not trying to be funny. This isn't a troll post, it is genuinely hard to breathe when he's on top of me. He's especially sensitive about his appearance when it comes to me, and asks me constantly to remind him that I still love him. I don't want to make him feel rejected, what do I do? Suggest different positions. Tell him why you think they would be fun to try to make it seem like you just want to be more adventurous. You might both find a position you like even more in the process. There are a lot of them. Or simply say that it's not very comfortable for you in that position of late and that you want to try some others. I wonder if it might be useful to shift focus from his body being the problem to the position being the problem. I think it could feel really good if I'm on top this time, shall we try that? Perhaps not mentioning that the reason it might feel better would be you not getting slightly crushed by him. IDK this is a tough one. I hope you find a gentle way of advocating for what you need. You use your words like an adult and tell him politely. His sensitivities are his responsibility. Don't pussyfoot around like others are suggesting. Your husband has a health issue he is struggling with and it's your responsibility to help him address it, especially since it's affecting you and your love life. I bet this dude loves you and loves having sex with you more than he likes his big gut. Also he knows he's fat, he's not gonna be surprised. I just tell my husband he's squishing me. Change up your positions, try being on top, doggy style, lazy Sunday etc. When you do use positions where you're underneath, I presume the main challenge is at the end where he lays on you and rests briefly. Handle that for as long as you want. Might only be a few seconds, then say something like, up, need to breathe, and encourage him to change position. This doesn't have to be about his weight. It's about yours and his fit. When he was slimmer, and he lay on you, you were still able to breathe comfortably. Now the position puts too much pressure against your diaphragm and you can't. Baby, you're sort of crushing me, hee. Him. Oh sorry babe, haha, got carried away. You. No, it's okay, put it back in. He might not be aware he's crushing you, which he just needs a reminder.